Over the next 2 days, we'll be talking about the Cape Epic, the mother of all stage races. And who better to talk to than Burry Stander and Karien van Jaarsveld, the winners of this year's Epic.
This is the biggest mountain bike stage race in the world, and participants are limited to 1,200. The route is redesigned each year, and the 800-kilometer 8-day race is entirely off-road.
Burry, tell me a bit about the Cape Epic. What mental and physical challenges that you have to face throughout?
So the Epic is probably one of the toughest events out there, especially when it comes to mountain bike stage racing, and I think in sports in general. Definitely the toughest thing I've ever done. 8 days, mentally super hard. There's so much that goes into it. Preparation for 6 months. You sort of live the Epic.
Karien, we were talking about the Sunny 2C. How does this event differ from the Cape Epic in terms of preparation?
The Epic, you start months before to train specifically just for the Epic, and I've personally took a lot of sacrifices to train for the Epic. Sunny 2C is a little bit shorter, so you can go flat out for the 3 days that you're racing, but the Epic, it's that you've got to save some for the next day.
The race is held from the last week in March to the first week in April. In the month leading up to the event, athletes spend a minimum of 10 hours a week on a bike. Taking part is a full-time commitment.
Tell me about the toughest things you had to face over the first 6 stages.
I think just to stay focused and remain calm over, for the first 7 days. We also built up quite a big lead quite soon in the race, and it's very easy to get swooped up in all the excitement and really get carried away, but you really just have to force yourself to settle down, recover, eat properly, because anything can still happen in the next day.
The athletes say confidence during a race is about focusing on the little things that you can control, such as pace and cadence. The unexpected will happen, and you need to take it in good stride.
Burry, tell me about the preparation leading up to the Epic in terms of training and supplements.
There's no shortcuts in the Epic. You got to put in the long days. You're training for an event where some of the winning times on the stages are up to 5.5 hours. So that's a long day of hard work. So you got to put in the long hours on the bike, and supplementation and recovery is so important leading up to the event. You got to look at it, you're building a foundation, and from a foundation you're building a house.
It's an 8-day race. Nutrition is extremely important. How do you make sure that your body gets the right nutrition over these 8 days?
Well, you're looking for obviously all your strands of carbohydrates and proteins, and you're really looking for a product that combines all of that. And a year or two ago, USN said about manufacturing a product specific for stage racing and for long events like that would combine all those nutrients in an easily absorbed drink. And they came up with Epic Pro. I've used it now for 2 years on the run, and I've never come across something so complete and something that's made the Epic in my life a lot easier.
Karien, do you think somebody can perform really well at the Cape Epic without the use of supplements?
No, I don't think you can't physically exert that much energy and possibly get enough back to keep on performing at that level. Sometimes it gets really hard to eat on the bike solid food, so something like a Vuma gel, they're very easy to use in the tubes, make it a bit easier to get some more carbohydrates and some instant energy, and it doesn't spike you too much. With some gels and things have a lot of caffeine in, so it just keeps that sugar levels consistent.
Burry says in sports, so much emphasis goes into equipment, while energy and recovery are often forgotten, but extremely important. USN understands this and support the team in these aspects.
Now let's think back a little bit. The biggest moment that you can remember, Burry, when it came to the Cape Epic.
The most important day in the Epic is the first one, the prologue. I immediately know if I'm in good shape and if it's going to be a good week. And for us this year, after having such a good performance in the Tokai forests, we knew our bodies were where they needed to be. That's the turning point for me, is just having the confidence going into the rest of the race.
I would agree that a prologue in Tokai was quite an eye-opener, and it's quite a shock for me. It was my first race I did with my partner, so it's kind of a new partnership, and I realized very quickly that she's very strong and she's very dedicated and she's here to win. How we actually managed to pull through 8 days is it's a miracle, that we didn't get off any worse with any bad accidents, and we were really lucky and fortunate.
Fortune smiles on those who prepare well. Join us again tomorrow for another extraordinary glimpse behind the scenes of the world's toughest stage race, as Team USN shares the strategy that won the 2011 Cape Epic.